Thank you, thank you, thank you. So for this lightning talk, I hope this is a flash of inspiration for many of you. You might have heard some of these myths and these truths. If you feel like I'm wrong in some of these myths, I would love to have a conversation with you too. I used to be an SRE at Walt Disney Studios. I worked as a DevRel person at HashiCorp, and so yeah, I've got many opinions, many hats, but not wearing one today. Really, have heard many diverse conversations around what's going on as folks adopt cloud native, have had success stories, have had some failure stories, and both of them are equally interesting. So let's get into it. Like, oh no. Okay. Good. All right. So going cloud native automatically makes everything scalable. That's simply not true, unfortunately. When it comes to adopting cloud native within your organization, it really helps to have telemetry, optimize things, make sure that you have your monitoring all set up, right? There's no one-size-fits-all solution, and there are many projects, I'm biased, but within the CNCF that help you out with that. Whether you're going to a vendor and buying something to help out with this, or if you're adopting an open source project to give you a little bit more telemetry, understanding as to what's going on, many different solutions. What can be, so I'm going to pick on Uber for a little bit. They've figured things out. They still get us to where we need to go, as well as bring us our lunch sometimes with Uber Eats. But back in 2018, they had a major outage that occurred just because one microservice went down. One bug, one microservice, 2,200 microservices affected downstream, and one giant outage. Uber didn't take this sitting down. They got to where they were looking to go, and they said, okay, this can't happen again. What can we do? So they started implementing things like circuit breaker architecture patterns, basically microservices that are aware of the fact that the database is down. I can't access cache. And then go about solving that in many different ways. Do I try this a little bit later? Do I hold off? Do I just not hit the database? Do I use another microservice to make sure that this happens? And then introducing chaos engineering and all of these other things that really help people adopt cloud native, right? It's not just, adopting cloud native can be decomposed into many things, just like microservices. Kubernetes solves all orchestration and deployment challenges. I wish this were true. It's not. Absolute myth. Kubernetes is powerful, right? You have a lot of primitives within Kubernetes. You have deployments, you have services, you have an ingress controller. Even that can be a difficult choice sometimes. The less of Kubernetes that you use, the less complex that it is. And it's workable, it's understandable. But when you need things like encrypted secrets, mutual TLS, network policies, you want to deploy some things on edge or have these nodes specifically within this data center handling sensitive content. You have a lot of choices to make, and as that scales up, so does the difficulty within Kubernetes. Investing in education, planning, and then working with the community to answer some of these questions is critical. That's why the CNCF exists and why we see this as incredibly important as far as fostering these kinds of communications, directing questions to our technical oversight committee, our end user tab, and many other different facets within the foundation. This is on no one person's shoulders. It's not even on a single team or an organization. This is on all of us to figure out. If we can figure this out, we can, the metaphor I like to make is, if we can figure out how to wash the dishes and take care of all the post-party things, we get to spend more time having the party, which I would like to do, especially within cloud native. Microservices are always the correct architecture. I've said this a lot within my career, and the reality is that's not always the case either. Microservices add complexity, and monoliths still have a place within the cloud native ecosystem. Question for you, is this a monolith or a microservice? This could have been an ancient microservice diagram, and they were trying to tell us and warn us. Or is it a monolith? That's also, would love to hear your thoughts on that front. Monoliths are better for smaller teams, more simple applications, and then lower latency types of applications as well. When it comes to safety or pacemakers or these kinds of things, it might not make sense to have a pacemaker with 40 microservices. That sounds kind of scary. That's a lot of complexity for something that's aiming to solve one problem. So worth thinking about. How do you want to handle your development velocity, your adoption, and the complexity? Complexity is key to think about. It's worth having those conversations before you start to code or even diagram some things out. Oh, sorry. Cloud native is always cheaper than on-premise compute. Absolutely, that's true, right? No. Some folks that I've worked with, we've had ridiculously large machines with 64 cores of CPU or 512 gigabytes of RAM. And they ask, why can't I just get that in the cloud? That's cheap, right? It's as cheap as the data center. No, costs can spiral way out of control without strong governance or implementing really good FinOps practices. Our sibling foundation, the FinOps Foundation, this is their latest data from the 2024 report, and this goes into detail. We'll share out my slides, and the finops.org is, I believe, the website. Definitely recommend checking this out to see what people are working on and what the main focus is for many teams within 2024. But a lot of it's cleaning things up, making use of reserved instances, and basically utilizing their cloud with a little bit more information and understanding as to what's going on. Cloud native is only for stateless applications. I've said this too. While stateless applications were kind of the original intent of Kubernetes, and for a very long time, even still today, people will tell you not to run databases in containers. What are you doing? But as Kubernetes has grown up, and we have stateful sets in these things as of Kubernetes 1.9, these things become possible. They don't become impossible. We can monitor them. We can implement these really good practices within cloud native and architecting these things. In fact, we have several projects that help out with this directly. Rook, helping you to stripe together and get all of these storage things contained within your cluster. Vitess for helping to scale up MySQL databases. And then for everything else, there's MasterCard, yes, but the operator framework can help out too with that. If there's things that need a certain set of procedures to spin things up, you can create an operator to help automate those things. That can also help with monoliths as well, or certain microservices, making sure things start in the right order. You have a lot of choices. So as you navigate the cloud native landscape, it's vast. It's difficult to understand all these things, especially when you try to take it all in at once. I do not recommend doing that. That's another myth that I don't have listed here, is you can learn it all in a day. No. The CNCF exists to provide assets, white papers, security audits, all of these things to help you get right back to what you want to be doing. And that's working on these business problems, staying in the code, architecting these things through, talking this through with your team. We want the cloud native experience to be nice. You should be able to network, have impact on projects, comprehend what's going on, and then get elevation, because this can be hard work, right? Opening up an issue, negligible amount of effort, but when you get something contributed, you work with folks, you become a leader within open source, or you get to maintainer, past contributor. That's a big deal. It's worth raising folks up that really participate within our cloud native ecosystem because it's so vast, because there's so much to understand. And yeah, if you have any questions, I would love to have a conversation with you. You can find me anywhere online as @onlydole, or send me an email. I love having conversations with people, and I hope you enjoy Paris. Thanks, everybody.